You're on a ship, sailing. Winds are low, seas are carefully rocking you back and forth, and the salty sea air, the calm sounds, are making you fall asleep fast. Then, suddenly, the ship crashes into a rock. No time, you must escape. What do you do? This has happened a fair few times in history, obviously, but it usually doesn't end well. However, there are systems on ships that can prevent this from being that bad. Various systems on ships are made to save you in the event of a sinking, and they have shown over the years why they are so important. So, today, I will tell you what to do in the event of a sinking and how these systems work. Let's explore the rules of navigation. For legal reasons, Ocean Channel Productions is not responsible for your safety on a ship. If you or a loved one die in a ship sinking, that is your own skill issue. Lifeboats are a relatively recent creation when compared to boats themselves. For most of history, the only safety equipment was life jackets and ship's boats. Ship's boats were small rowboats on decks that would mostly be used for going ashore on islands where beaching large boats made no sense. Life jackets didn't really come into effect until 1806, when a man by the name of Francis Denial invented an inflatable life jacket and then demonstrated it by the way that all Victorian inventors demonstrate their inventions. He jumped into the Thames River with 6 others and played music to demonstrate the lifting power of life jackets to the public. Cork life jackets were then issued to sailors in the Battle of Trafalgar for the French fleet. In 1851, a Royal Navy troopship known as the Birkenhead sank off the coast of South Africa, and one of the only survivors was the only man to have a life jacket on. Around this time, a Liberal Party MP in the UK named George Sawleyffer proposed requiring British ships to carry enough lifeboats for 50% of the passengers. This was around the time when the concept of lifeboats began evolving from something that would be used to get ashore to something that would be used as a backup if the ship sank. In the 1880s, it was finally required for all ships to have at least enough lifeboats for 70% of their passengers. Around this time, life-saving services started from the UK and began carrying life jackets, showing their potential. In 1904, most life jackets were substituted from cork to kapok and began being carried on most ships. This material was comfortable and flexible and made much better life jackets. At the turn of the 19th century, ships were growing faster than regulation could keep up, allowing outdated laws to govern ships. It was only after the sinking of the Titanic that international laws stated that ships needed to carry enough lifeboats for everyone on board. However, this caused decks to be cluttered and led to the development of separate lifeboat decks, an invention that lives on today in cruise ships. In World War II, life jackets began to be painted yellow in order to spot them better, and after World War II, the University of Victoria, located near me in British Columbia, invented protection suits that protected people from certain time in cold water and had small lights on them. Nowadays, life jackets are regulated in most planes, boats, and more, with some being foam and used on small speedboats to inflatable ones on large ships. Nowadays, lifeboats are most commonly enclosed boats, with at least 50% required to be enclosed according to Chapter 3 Amendment to IMO SOLAS 1974. These provide protection from the elements. Another thing to know is flares. Flares began being used in World War I to find submarines underwater and were eventually used to signal distress. They can burn potassium nitrate for over 40 seconds and can be seen from 20 nautical miles away. They are packed in all lifeboats and rafts, and are used in more than just ships. There's also hand flares. Now, I should probably get back to that situation at the beginning of the video. Now, if you're on, let's say, a cruise ship, and it starts sinking, or there's an emergency, first, go to your door, and there should be a map of how to get to your muster station. If you do know where that is, good, but before you go, take your life jackets. They should be on the top cupboard in your cabin. On your door, it'll have instructions to get to the muster station, so follow those, and once you get there, simple enough, follow the instructions of the crew. But that's all I can really say for passengers. For crew, usually lifeboats are lowered by going into the boat, plugging the drains, checking the lines, removing the harbor pins, throwing the embarkation ladder over the side, removing the safety pin which makes sure that the ship can be swung free of the side, checking to see if anything would impede the lowering of the lifeboats, then lift up the crane that says lift to lower. This should lower the davit. Once the davit is at embarkation level, start loading. Tie a line to the front of the ship to keep it from moving. Then, on the controls, one person releases the dead man's lever slowly, and that loosens the brakes on the line. Then, the boat will slowly go down. There are ways to do this inside the boat too. In the boat there should be a rope to pull, and that will do it too. After the boat hits the water, keep the brakes open until it releases, then detach the line from the front and untie the rope. And that's how you lower a lifeboat. That's the basic gist of how to lower a lifeboat, but of course there's more to it. Although if you really do need to lower a lifeboat, I don't know why you're watching this video and just haven't received training. Life rafts are another thing to mention. They're small engineless inflatable rafts that deploy up to 80 people. They're usually released like this. Near the bottom of the container there should be a hook. Slip that out to release the lock. After that, check the side for anything that could impede the launch. Then, get someone else to help throw the raft overboard. After that, grab the painter, which is a line that should be still attached to the ship, grab it, and pull the painter to inflate the raft. If the boat sinks, an inflatable knife basically will cut the lock and release the life raft, and pull on the painter that deploys it automatically. And that's the basics of how to deploy a life raft, and make sure to bring it alongside the ship after it's inflated to get people in it, or it'll drift away. Another automatic device that could actually be life and death when it comes to a ship sinking is an EPIRB. Now, not all EPIRBs are floating radio beacons. Some are shipboard, like the SSAS, the Ship Security Alarm System, which can be turned on discreetly to indicate piracy or terrorism. A floating EPIRB is a small buoy carried by large ships and kayaks, held in hydrostatic releases that release when submerged. They are able to be switched on manually or automatically when in contact with water. Both of those little receptors on the bottom, what they basically do is detect if anything conductive is in the middle of them, and if it is and electricity can get transferred between them, they know that it's in water and they'll display their GPS signal to satellites that'll relay their signal to shore. Most EPIRBs are solar powered and carried in life rafts, so if you're in a raft, tie the EPIRB to the raft and put it in the water. It will alert rescuers of your location using GPS. EPIRBs also have the information about your ship like hull color, type, and more, which can be used to contact the owner for a passenger manifest. This is why it's so important for an EPIRB to be in a place that it can separate without being caught. As well as that, make sure that it's in a place where it has an unobstructed view of the sky. It can make all the difference when a ship is sinking. And with that, that's all you need to know about the safety mechanics of ship. It should be noted that there's a bit more to discuss, like radios, motored lifeboats, and how to deploy freeflow lifeboats, but that's for another video. So, fair winds and following seas. I will see you next time.